It was 1:30 in the night. The road was completely deserted, and in that silence, my truck was running alone. Hello, friends. I am Sunil. I have been driving a truck for the last 8 years. And in these 8 years, I've traveled on every route. But the road on which I was taking my truck today was completely new for me. Actually, a company had asked me to take a shortcut to deliver the goods quickly. I explained to the company people that I do not know anything about that route. That is why I do not want to go from there, but the company people refused to listen to me and said that we need the company's goods by tomorrow morning. That is why you have to come from that route. So now I had to go from that route out of compulsion. So when I turned my truck on that road, I saw that the road was very narrow and was passing through dense forests. If I go on this road, I will have to keep moving forward, because there was no chance of taking a U-turn here. So without thinking anything, I took my truck on that road. The road was completely deserted and immersed in darkness. The front part was getting illuminated by the headlights of the truck, but the whole area behind was immersed in dense darkness. The radio signals were not coming here, so now I had no means of entertainment. Only the sound of my truck was able to break the silence of the road. It had been about 2 hours since I was moving ahead on this road. When I saw an old hut on the side of the road which was made of tin. It was a broken hut, and an earthen lamp was flickering outside it. I was startled to see this sudden light in this deserted forest. I thought it might be a daba thinking, so I quickly stopped the truck on the side of the road. As soon as the sound of the truck stopped, the forest again drowned in its terrifying silence. I opened the door of the truck and went towards the hut. When I reached close to the light of the lamp, I saw that an old woman was sitting inside the hut. She did not even see me. She was mumbling something to her with her head bent like a dog. I bent down and asked her, "Amma, is this the right way? Am I going to the city through this route?" Hearing this, the old woman slowly raised her head. I could see that her face was so full of wrinkles that it was difficult for me to even guess her age. She was a very old woman. Then she looked at me with vacant eyes and then slowly shook her head. I did not understand anything clearly from her gesture, but now in the middle of this dense forest, I could not ask anyone for directions. Apart from me and that old woman, there was that dense forest in my truck. So I thought that maybe she is talking about losing her way. "It doesn't matter, Amma," I said. "Please give me some water to drink." This time the old woman did not say anything. She slowly got up and went inside the hut and brought out a pot from inside. She took out water for me from the pot. Her hands were trembling while taking out the water. It was probably the effect of age. While drinking water, I noticed that the woman shook her head again in the same way. This time her gesture was even more forceful than before, as if she was forbidding me not to take this path. After finishing the water, I returned her glass to her and turned to go to my truck. But before leaving, I asked the old woman, "What is your name, Amma?" The old woman looked at me and said something. I could not hear anything. "This forest," she said, "chooses its own path." My blood froze after hearing this. Before I could say anything more or ask her anything else, she suddenly disappeared. I did not know where she was. Now there was only darkness and silence all around. Seeing all this, I got scared and moved back, but my foot hit something. When I bent down and looked, the thing that had fallen down was a broken earthen lamp. It was the same lamp that was burning near that old lady. I was very scared after seeing this strange incident. Many questions were arising in my mind. Who was that woman? Why was she signaling me not to take the path? And that last thing, this forest chooses its own path. What did all this mean? After some thought, I decided that it would be better to return. Not taking a shortcut might cause delays, but it is better than getting lost or getting into trouble. I got back in the truck and started it. Looking back, the hut had indeed completely disappeared from there, as if there was no hut ever. I tried to take a U-turn, but I realized that the forest had become even more dense. The branches of the trees were entangled together, as if this path was blocking me. There was still no signal on the radio, and this strange silence was making the forest even more terrifying. So I decided to keep the fire going in the forest. After moving ahead in the forest for some time, I again saw a light in the distance. I hoped that it might be a village or a dhaba. I drove the truck towards that light. As I came closer, the light started getting clearer. It was a tin hut, exactly like the one I had seen before. But this time, there was no lamp burning outside the hut. After reaching the hut, I stopped the truck. This time I was very scared, but as I was not able to find a way, I had no other option. I opened the door and peeped inside the hut. An old man was sitting inside the hut. He raised his head and looked at me. There was a strange gleam in his eyes. "Have you come, son?" he asked in a low voice. I was startled by this sudden question. I could not say anything. The old man smiled. A strange mystery was hidden in his smile. "You have lost your way," he said, "but now there is nothing to fear. Come, sit inside." Startled, I moved inside. It is better to take help from them than to get lost on the road at night. I entered the hut hesitantly. The hut was small but looked clean from inside. A carpet was spread on one side, and an old oil lamp was burning on the wall. The old man was sitting on the carpet. He gestured me to sit near him, and I did the same while being cautious. And I went near him. After some silence, the old man started talking. He told me that this forest is very old and very few people come here. He himself has been living here for years, monitoring the forest. Then I asked, "That woman, whom I met earlier, who was she? Do you know anything about her?" The old man shook his head. "She is my wife. She passed away due to illness a few years ago." Hearing this, my hair stood on end. Fear started dominating me. Then again that old man said, "I think you have lost your way. It is not always good to take a shortcut." I also apologized to him and told him that the company had asked us to take this route to deliver the goods quickly. The old man smiled. "It's all right, son. Mistakes happen.